Protecting Jared Goff. His message to his team coming back out, finish this game.
Purdy over the middle, and Samuel in stride, and Deebo Samuel down to the 41.
Play action pass in the middle of the field. That's what makes this offense so hard to handle. And
pause the video right here. Now, this was just the second play of the second half of the 2024 NFC Conference Championship. And I mean, you guys see it all. The score is still 24-7. I'm willing to bet that most of you probably thought this game was practically over at this point. And well, aside from some, let's just say generational levels of choking that we saw, all the way from the first breakaway touchdown to even the final kneel down of this game, it seems like most people out there want to actually discredit Detroit more than they want to give that credit to the San Francisco 49ers. And I do see why some of you think this way, because yeah, it was definitely a joint effort here. But at the same time, from this point exactly where we started this video, we didn't just see some things that we're probably never going to see again, but also, I don't know if there's an answer for it. One sec though, guys, if you haven't yet, do not forget to subscribe and turn on those notifications to never miss another NFL video throughout the rest of this season and even the 2024 offseason. So the San Francisco 49ers finished this season with easily one of, if not the most productive offenses in all of football. I mean, whether it was through the numbers, the film, even the absurd level of individual star power they had at every single level of the field, this team essentially felt like the buzzsaw that nobody wanted to run into. But then there's what we've seen in the 2024 playoffs so far. And sure, when you're taking a look at the overall production, that doesn't necessarily look any different, but if you were to single out the first half of each of these games that we have seen, yeah, there's something. I mean, it is just insane when you look at it from this perspective, because the 49ers in this postseason, they've been a polar opposite of what they were throughout 2023. They were one of the most explosive first half offenses in the regular season, as opposed to one of the least productive in the postseason. They have a head coach notoriously known for not being able to lead a comeback, who just gave us two of the most impressive come from behind victories that we've seen in playoff history in back-to-back weeks. I mean, guys, while yes, there was some choking that we witnessed in the process, the mid-game adjustments that San Francisco made on both sides of the ball to get to this point, those definitely cannot go unnoticed either. But honestly, the thing about some of those adjustments that we saw, I'm not even sure if San Francisco expected to see what they were doing. Now, when you're talking about the San Francisco 49ers this season, they utilized a very specific offensive scheme that more than anything else elevated their team's strengths. Because again, when you have guys at your disposal like Deebo, Aiyuk, Kittle, CMC, hell, even guys like Jauan Jennings looking like and making plays like first-team All-Pros, yeah, I don't think you need much explaining as to how this team easily posted the most balanced and dominant dual threat offense in the entire NFL. And quick quiz for you guys. What do you do when you have a dual threat offense of this caliber, other than the obvious answer of incorporating so much pre-snap motion and crazy concepts that are driving most defensive coordinators out there probably to the brink of insanity? That is correct. You abuse the living hell out of play action scenarios. Something they didn't just utilize as frequently as you'd expect, but they were also hands down the most efficient team in football at doing so. And then, if you want to look for situations of them utilizing play action so far in this postseason, there are clearly more than enough examples of this. It's just, for whatever reason, they didn't feel like doing it in the first half. I mean, if you just sit down and compare the first to second half film from either of these playoff games so far, it is a night and day difference. For example, early on in either of these games that you look at, you can notice almost a different offensive approach that Shanahan and San Francisco tried to take compared to their usual tactics. One instance would be that going up against two very formidable pass rush units in both Green Bay and Detroit in the playoffs so far, along with having themselves what's honestly considered to be a below average offensive line outside one of the best in the game in Trent Williams, San Francisco for about 30 minutes of each of these games was essentially essentially playing directly into what their opponents wanted them to do. I mean, there's the very little use of the play action concept that constantly generates them big plays. There's the heavy reliance and frequency of outside run schemes that seemingly just became all too predictable really quickly. And more than anything, it was an offense that looked almost rushed in the sense of trying to get the ball out of Brock Purdy's hands as fast as you possibly could. But ironically enough, the exact opposite was exactly what this team needed. Now, all of the scrambling, the playmaking, hell, even the play extending, while sure, it definitely might seem like an answered prayer by Brock Purdy to keep this team alive, but in reality, even though I know some people are not going to want to admit it, he's been doing most of this all season long. Because again, even despite the below average offensive line performance, there have been very few quarterbacks in the entire league who've posted a longer pocket presence and ability to operate under pressure than Brock Purdy. Like, not only does he have a top 5 average pocket time, but he even has a top 5 passer rating in situations under pressure as well. And similarly to the numbers that he's posted all year long, I mean, we all saw firsthand what happens when he's actually given that green light to roam the field. Areas like his pocket presence and footwork improved drastically when he was actually given the ability to progress through his reads and let his wide receivers' routes develop. And not only that, but you also continually saw less pressure being sent by the defense, specifically from the mid to deep portions of the field, which also allowed for that increased dropback time and freedom to even extend plays out of the pocket like we saw. And when you're able to give guys like Deebo, Aiyuk, and CMC more time than usual to make a play happen, yeah, good things, they tend to come your way. But then, in terms of the scrambling and this dude's ability to actually use his legs, let's be honest here, none of us knew where the f that came from. But if anything, when considering the roller coaster of scares, worries, and struggles that San Francisco endured to get to this point, as crazy as it sounds, it's almost reassuring in a sense for this team. You have a head coach that has potentially gotten over the hump of his historic weak spot. You have a quarterback who's been constantly questioned throughout his tenure as a starter, who's done nothing short of thrive in every clutch situation that he's faced. And of course, you also can't forget about your top tier defensive units actually playing up to caliber in the biggest moments. But I mean, even aside from all of this, I still gotta hear what you guys have to think. So please be sure to let me know in the comments, what has been the most surprising thing that you've seen from the San Francisco 49ers in the playoffs so far, whether it be on the offensive or the defensive side of the ball, and of course, who's winning it all. Give me a prediction and a final score. But once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all of you more than anything, and I will see you guys in the next video.